Oh, hi. So nice to have you back for this episode of Under the Liberty Tree. This is our third.
Yep.
And as you can see, we've got a new set. We've got some new camera angles. We've got a great cameraman there who's working to kind of make the whole thing feel a little bit more natural. So we're investing in all of the things we need to improve the quality. And then we're also taking a hard look at the content because you've given us a ton of feedback and we're very grateful for that. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is useful and helpful to you. So if you have feedback, let us know.
They want more politics.
But we're definitely going to be focusing more.
They want more David Madera.
We're definitely going to be focusing more on what's in the news and what's going on. But please do let us know if you have something that you want us to talk about. Send us a message. Also, I did want to take a moment and talk about the platforms again. We are encouraging people to go to Gab TV. So you go tv.gab.com and then search for David Madera or Under the Liberty Tree. And the reason for that is we're going to continue to say the truth. And in this day and age, that's going to get us canceled. So we will still be on YouTube for as long as they'll have us. But we really encourage you to share the Gab version, watch the Gab version, because that's where we're going to be able to be safe and have this conversation. The concept of the Liberty Tree is a place where the early patriots pre-Revolutionary War met to discuss what it was that they wanted their country to be like, what kind of country they wanted to have. And so that's part one of the Under the Liberty Tree concept. And then the second part is simply where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and that the ultimate liberty is an eternal liberty that comes from faith in Jesus Christ. So that's going to continue to be our emphasis, but we are going to move more towards politics based on what your comments have been and what the things were you told us. So whatever you want to hear about, though, ask us questions. We'll try to have like a comment section and listen to what you're saying, maybe address those things. But what are we going to talk about today?
Because we do want it to feel normal. This is our normal life. We sit out here at 5 o'clock in the morning having coffee. This is where we do it, right
It's
here.
true.
And we talk politics. And while we're reading the Bible together or reading a book together, this is what a lot of us do. And we just want you to feel like it's okay to talk about faith and politics at the same time.
Yeah, we should be.
That's what we should be doing.
That's our call.
And too many churches have been trying to get Christians away from that, putting this chasm between faith and politics. And we're going to do an episode on that soon on what is politics.
Okay.
Because you've been starting actually a pamphlet on that.
I do have some thoughts on that.
And we want to do a whole show on that.
Awesome.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go through some news today. And then at the end of the episode, we're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to surprise you with something.
Okay.
We're going to do something that Franklin Graham used to do. He used to open up the newspaper in the morning and look at the news and talk about talk about springboard from that.
When he would do
crusade.
He came to Kingston.
Yeah.
When my dad helped to organize that many years ago, Kingston, Pennsylvania, and that's what he would do. He would open the newspaper and he would talk about what he saw in the paper and then relate it to God's word. And that's the way we're supposed to live our lives.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to shoot some news stories at you.
Go.
Get your take on them.
Let's do it. Bring it on.
Number one, earlier this week, I know this is going to shock a lot of people, but the Supreme Court investigators could not find out who the leaker was way back in the spring when somebody leaked out the Roe decision
Roe v. Wade
before the decision came out. I mean, I imagine it was really arduous and really tough to figure out who it, but I mean...
Almost like when the FBI investigated itself. Yeah. That kind of intensity. Yeah.
It's pretty laughable, though, when they can find out the little grannies who were at the insurrection.
Yeah, somehow they could track everybody's phone. They've got. By the way, did you see they published a list?
Yeah.
Like the kind of list you'd put out if you put people on a pedophile list.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. So what's your take, I'm sorry, I was going to say Mr. Politics, Dr. Politics. What's your take on why can't they find who the leaker was?
Well, I mean, they never wanted to, right?
What?
Yeah, they never wanted to find out. And the best way to hide anything is to start an investigation, to launch another investigation.
Oh, that's good.
And Republicans are just as bad at this as Democrats. They put a blue ribbon committee together and they go out and they investigate. And then after it's all died down. We're going to see
a lot of that in the next 2 years.
Yeah. After it's all died down and everybody's forgotten about it, they announce something. So I did look this up. and Politico says that the investigators did not say whether or not they investigated by asking the justices. So, so, so that does raise the question, and I can understand why they didn't, because the justices rule. I mean, no play on words there. They rule the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is a very insular group of folks, and so they would have really not wanted to subject themselves to that.
Yeah. Now if I can just interject really quick on that.
Yes, you can.
We went to, many years ago, we went to the Capitol and we did the David Barton Wall Builders tour of the Capitol.
That was wicked cool.
That was amazing. I doubt they still do it anymore because of COVID and all that, and
David
shutting
Barton.
down the. Well, when he took us down to the room that used to be the original Supreme Court, Ari, do you remember that?
It was a little tiny room in the basement, and I remember him saying that it was very, very isolated from the rest of the Capitol. And I remember him telling a story about Daniel Webster, but I don't remember what the story was.
But do you remember him talking about why the architect...
No.
And why they designed the Supreme Court, it was a room then, underneath the two houses.
No, I don't.
Because it was a reminder to the Supreme Court, to the justices, that they were beholden to the people, because they were literally underneath the House of Representatives and the Senate, and they were beholden to the people, that they were not above, because they had come from merry old England, where the rule was there was Parliament, but it was different. Laws came down from on high, and here our founding fathers wanted the Supreme Court to not take on the mantle of a kingship mentality where they rule by fiat.
And almost from the beginning, Marbury versus Madison was the decision that gave the Supreme Court a ton of power that wasn't in part of the original design. It was in fact, Students for Liberty has a good article on this. I'll post a link to it. But it was not the intention of the founders to have, quote, 3 equal branches. The Supreme Court was supposed to be like you said, in the basement in a tiny little box to adjudicate some minor issues. And they very quickly appropriated themselves that. The other thing, of course, that's happened related to that is that our legislature has also pushed a lot of their authority to the president.
Oh, yeah.
So the very people who are closest...
Via executive order.
Well, but also through regulating by establishing agencies that go to the executive to control.
And NGOs.
Well, Congress didn't establish NGOs.
No, but they have lobbyists who they all work in.
But I'm saying
tandem.
Yes, that's right. I mean, they all want to centralize power to the bureaucracy, and NGOs are definitely
how the House can't get something through, so their lobbyists go over to the NGOs and say, get this through.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like these omnibus bills, when the government passes a $1.7 trillion bill, and nobody can read it, that leaves it to these agencies. So they keep establishing agencies, and then they push it off. And then they can go home and they can campaign against the very agencies they created.
Exactly. And then they go back and they increase the budget every year for these agencies.
So back to SCOTUS.
Back to SCOTUS.
Yeah, so I think it's obvious that it was one of the justices, and it must have been...
I think so too.
Must have been a liberal, because the conservatives had no reason to leak it. And there was a desire among the liberals... probably one of the activists, Sotomayor, although I guess she said she's best friends with Clarence Thomas. So it might have been Kagan, who actually has even more of an activist background.
Alito.
No, Alito's the conservative.
I know, but I thought, never mind.
Clarence, maybe it is Alito. I don't know.
Oh, it was RBG that was best friends with Alito.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. No, I think Clarence Thomas and Sotomayor are good friends personally. But my point is the idea that who would have the motive, right? Because that's always what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The conservatives had no motive to do this because they knew that there'd be a ton of pressure once that decision was known against them. Whereas the other way, there might be some pro-lifers who march on Washington, but there would be no... no serious threat to the court from
But why would they, if it was one of the justices, which we'll never know?
Yeah, we will.
Our
grandkids
Why
will
would
know.
they not? Why would they not push that out? Why would they not say? Why would they not say if it was Elena Kagan?
Well, because then she'd be a target, right? Because she's not supposed to do
She would
it.
also be a hero.
It'll come out. It'll come out.
I have doubts.
Not maybe in our lifetime, but it will come
I have
out.
doubts. Okay, number 2. Okay, reparations is all in the news. It's building, right? Building. First, I think the first time I saw something about reparations, maybe 6 months ago, was demands for $150,000 per Black person who could prove whatever they can prove that they were the descendants of slaves. I mean, I want to understand why we can't prove that we weren't the descendants of slaveholders then.
5 million?
And now,
5 million?
you just took it off.
Sorry,
Took me out of my bubble.
I hadn't seen this. Oh my
No, now, and then it was up to $1 million. Yeah, I think in LA, I saw their council was asking for $1 million per person. And in San Francisco, they're asking for $5 million plus,
Well, the cost of living's pretty high.
plus a yearly salary.
Well,
But it doesn't stop there, because this week, just yesterday, I read from the Daily Wire, the vice president of Colombia, the country Colombia, she's demanding reparations from the United States.
for Colombia.
For Colombia,
Well, why not?
when they're a Spanish, like
Now who's
Spain founded Colombia. So why do we?
Now who's paying for
Why
that?
are we supposed to pay them reparations?
Who's paying? Well, first of all, they're not actually paying, right? This is the recommendation. They're not actually paying. No one's received a check, right?
No, but these are special councils that are set up in these cities that are put together to study reparations
Bingo.
and how much.
Make a study.
Make a study, and so
The San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which was created in 2020 under the Human Rights Commission, was tasked to develop a plan to address the institutional city-sanctioned harm that has been inflicted. There's never been slavery in California.
it wasn't even a state when there was slavery. So I don't. But now Brazil is going to be asking the United States for reparations.
Well, and here's the...
Like,
and
why would we have to pay Brazil for reparations?
honey, see, you're
I'm sorry,
asking...
Colombia, not Brazil.
You're
But it'll be Brazil and then Venezuela.
You're asking logical questions. That's the problem. So here's the key line now. The committee has no authority. The committee has no authority. So they'll recommend whatever they want. It doesn't matter. They're not going to pay reparations because there's no clear mechanism to do it. How do you decide? Are we going to have the Nazis come in because they had things they could do to people's skulls. They could measure their skulls to determine what they're...
Yeah, I know.
No. I mean, that
I know
was
they
supposed
did.
to be
I know.
Nazi science. So,
Yeah.
so what are we going to do? We're going to ask the Nazis to come over and help us to determine who's what? Because, I mean,
Queen Victoria and Prince Albert did that to Prince Albert.
we're the
Measured his
what?
head. Yes, they did. They didn't. He was dyslexic, and the science. Oh, when you talk about follow the science, Prince Albert was all into science because he was from Germany, and they were all enlightened and everything.
Yeah, Germans.
and
Germans.
Young Prince Albert, Bertie, was dyslexic, and he showed signs of some learning disabilities, and they thought he had a problem with. They didn't know what he wouldn't obey them. They had a lot of
He was a boy.
Yeah, and he was a boy, right? So they had a doctor
Call
come
him the
in.
shrink. He's a boy. Or put him on
The
drugs.
science of the day was that if you weren't
science.
intelligent, it had to do with the size of your brain. And they had
Makes
charts
sense.
in it, so
Little brain.
they had a doctor come in and measure his brain. And sure enough, his brain was small in a certain area, and that's why he was so stupid. That's horrible.
So this isn't going anywhere. This is going to be a conversation that's going to go on and on. And look, the whole point of it is to tear us apart.
Yeah.
There are no races. There aren't any races. We're
No.
all humans. We all came from God. We're all made in His image. We're all image bearers. And the discussion around separation is one meant to divide us. It's meant ultimately by our greatest enemy, not the Soviets, Satan, but it's also by those who want to see people torn apart. Now, not everybody who advocates for it wants to see that, but at the top, the people who are just finishing up their week in Davos, they do. They want us at each other's throats. And it's just horrible. But it's not gonna go anywhere. Here's the thing. I think it's actually good, because the further they get down this path. I mean, look, that was 2020 that this commission was formed. How hard can it be? Like, you get around, you have a few conversations, and it's over. You pick your number and you move on. But they're not, because there's nowhere for them to go. If they said $100 a person, that would be a disaster. If they said $1,000 a person, they'd be accused of being racist. If they said $1 million, so they just picked a crazy number, because who cares? You don't have to follow through. Whatever, make it $1 billion. Why not $1 billion a piece?
Yeah,
then that would really do it, right? Because can you put a price on freedom?
I know this hardly ever happens, but I'm going to disagree with you. When you say there's no clear mechanism, they don't have to have a clear mechanism. All they have to do, especially San Francisco, California is like the king of this. They just claim their state has a problem with blah, blah, blah. And they go to the federal government and say, we need $1 billion from the federal government. And then, I mean, they did it with COVID.
I just felt the truth of that in my wallet.
They did it with COVID. They got all that COVID money.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I just
so
felt the truth of that in my
actually went
wallet.
to the
Can
businesses.
we talk about something else?
And all they're going to do is, we're going to be the first state to give it out in reparations.
And all the money is.
Am I right? And
all the money is going to be. Yeah, you can go in the comment section and say if she's right. And,
should we move on?
And all.
Do you
Yes,
want
please.
to move
Let's.
on? Do you want to?
And all the. and all the. Money's ultimately going to wind up tied up in the bureaucracy. No real person is going to benefit. What's next?
Okay, when the documents started coming out, and just this morning, more documents were found. This is Sunday, so 5 more documents, files were found in Biden's house today. I read. When I saw this happen, 2 weeks ago, his lawyers, and they were turning them over, following the rules. I really thought, my first instinct was that this is all they're doing is hiding everything they're going to need, that Republicans are going to call for a subpoena.
Like they did with...
they're going to be show trials.
No, like they did with Samuel Bankman Friedman. The day before he's supposed to go testify, suddenly he gets...
They hide him away in jail.
That's
and
so
I
obvious.
really thought that's what they were doing. Until Friday, I started, and a lot of other people were saying, no, this is the deep state's taking Biden out. This is it. We've got him now. And I'm like,
why?
He's
the perfect placeholder. He's
a great puppet, right? But on Friday, Charlemagne the God said on his show, podcast, was it a radio show or a podcast, whatever it is?
I didn't know God had a radio show. And I didn't know his name was Charlemagne.
Okay, he said that he thinks Biden has dementia, and he saw Biden talking to a ghost.
Does Charlemagne the God do drugs?
I don't know. I would not insinuate that. But
I am insinuating it. I'm clearly insinuating
it. But what I mean is there are more other Democrats coming out. And I've seen people on CNN.
So you think it is time to take them out?
I don't know.
You were wrong. You're changing your mind.
No.
Oh, wait, that's a woman's prerogative.
I am just wondering. Is somebody who wants the White House more than we're being told? Or maybe the deep state is like Biden,
you think they have a replacement?
What do you think?
I don't think they have any plan. I don't think they know what to do. One of the things that I think conservatives make the mistake of doing is thinking that the Democrats have a really great plan and they're steering everything. They're not. They're a total train wreck. Now, that doesn't mean they don't advance their cause, because they are determined. They're much more determined for the most part than conservatives, and they're much more willing to enforce their will. But they're not. The Democrat Party is always like, they just stole the money, they've jumped into the getaway car, and cash is flowing out everywhere.
And documents too.
And they're
secret files.
Oh, somebody did a funny one. It was when the comedian, the comedian who burnt his face,
I don't know.
and collects cars. He used to be late night.
Oh, Jay Leno.
Jay Leno and President Biden did like a show where they were driving in a convertible.
They did? I don't.
This was a while ago. And he's been in politics a long time. Anyway, in this video, he steps on the gas and the papers start flying out of the convertible. It was very funny.
Jay Leno did that?
Well, no, somebody edited that in. Someone took
I thought you meant Jay Leno.
No, someone took.
that.
You're right. Someone took an excerpt of it. They
Okay.
recorded it.
That's
then
funny.
they,
That is funny.
whatever the term is to make it look like it. It was pretty funny. So I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter.
Is it a wait and see?
I think they're trolling us. I think they're trolling us. We do know. Well, we've been told that this was known before the election.
Yeah.
Before the midterm
Midterms,
election,
yeah.
it was known that he had these documents, and they clearly covered it up. So I would think, typically, politically, what you do is you wait until right after the election, you get it all out, and then when it's brought up again in a year, you say, that's old news. The American people know all about this. There's nothing to see here. And it works. Because they can just say, we've already discussed this. Everybody has their opinion. There's no point. Let's talk about something new. And I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're just cleaning out the closets,
I
literally.
guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, number 4. What is going on with the World Economic Forum? Because it seems like if you read Rebel News, you're not supposed to watch Rebel News, right? Or other outlets that are the independent news sources.
By the way, Rebel News is a great news source. People sometimes
Love Rebel News.
Yeah, people sometimes
Love
ask me like, where do you get your news from? Because they're watching my Facebook or Twitter feed, and they're like, you always come up with these.
Avi Yemeni.
Yeah, you always come up with these interesting takes and interesting articles. Rebel News is a great source because they do real investigative journalism. They're out of Canada, right? Aren't they out of Canada? Rebel News?
Rebel News from Canada. Okay, because this year,
interestingly enough, you're going to have to go to their website because I just put Rebel News into the search engine from Google.
Now you have to go.
And literally, there it is, the Twitter account on the second page, way
Those
down.
guys are some of the most courageous men on the planet. Okay, so this year, Gates didn't go, which is weird. Soros didn't go. Now, I get it that Soros is like 185 years old, but his excuse wasn't sickness. It was, I am giving a speech in Munich. Well, he's giving a speech in Munich next month, and it's not like he didn't know, their sacred week was last week. So, and Macron and Trudeau didn't go this year. And there was also some confusion about Klaus Schwab himself going this year.
He was there.
He was there, but the whole first few days before that, some people were reporting he wasn't going to be there. He is going to be there, and I think maybe whatever was going on, maybe the pressure was like, no, you have to be there. So according to Rebel News, which I think the guys from Rebel News, when they put stuff out, they really work hard to make sure it's as accurate as possible, which is why they're banned everywhere.
Yep.
They said as of 4:30 on Wednesday, when the WEF kicked off, upwards of 50% of the invitees were not going to be showing up. 50%. That's a lot. So, and only a few dozen people were at the opening ceremony, and there were a max of 400 in attendance. There were 2,700 confirmed attendees for it, and only 400 were there.
Really?
So is the WF falling apart, and are the elites of the elite putting together another organization?
Sure.
Because,
I mean,
what's going on?
The second part, absolutely.
What is your
I think the public pressure. I mean, you look at the coverage from Rebel News and others. Rebel News said they sent, 7 people up there to do it, and they've done this sort of guerrilla journalism where they catch these guys walking from one place to another, and then they ask them questions.
They had the
CEO of Pfizer, that Albert Bourla.
Don't I sound like a millennial?
Yes, no, they had that CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, and they asked him some questions.
Really
tough questions, and of course he just ignored them. Yeah. But it gets the play. It gets in the news. It helps people to see what's going on, and I'm just going to put in a little plug for the very, very strange Elon Musk. And I want to say this because I really like what he's doing with Twitter. I like that he's opening up for free speech. I also know that he's not necessarily one of us. He's getting what they call red pilled. He's beginning to see that everything is a little bit weird, but he's still a pretty strange guy. But like with anybody else, if they're going to advance the agenda that I'm concerned about, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to be grateful, even if I know that in the end we'll all probably be controlled by his neural implants.
Oh, that is not
because he loves those. He loves those.
So, do you think that the huge reduction in attendance at the WF is more due to people like Rebel News and they're going to get people on camera, or the organization is starting to fall apart?
Nope, not a bit. Their power has increased dramatically, but they don't need to go there anymore. Like, that was sort of a vacation thing, and it's not paying off. Yeah. So they're going to continue to meet. They're going to continue to scheme. They're going to continue because the one hand washes the other. One of the ladies at the Davos thing was saying, you're going to have hate speech laws in America soon because it's only the right thing to do. We have to have hate speech laws. And of course, that's just another way of saying you're not going to be allowed to think, right? I made this joke with somebody the other day, sorry, ma'am, you've had too much to think, which is a great libertarian joke. But they're not going anywhere. They're absolutely not going anywhere. Their power, if anything, is increased by this because the efficiency of them not all flying out there. It was a vacation party. That's all it ever was. That's all it ever was.
One more news story before we get to the surprise at the end. Okay. Because we now live for the past 7 years in the great state of Florida.
The free state,
for which I am so thankful to God for.
Thank you.
And we invite you all move here. It is
well,
if you want to. It is getting really crowded. I must say, it is getting crowded.
And we have alligators, a lot of big alligators. So.
We don't have alligators.
No, they're everywhere. They fall from
eating
the sky.
people every day.
No, it's terrible.
Okay, so one of the things that we're going to do is...
Unless you want freedom, then come.
The Florida Spotlight. Not because we want the whole world to move here, but because Florida, Ron DeSantis is really showing the rest of the governors of this country how to do it. He is leading the way in how to lead and how to just be common sense, how to deal with the media. Anyway, so this week, the DeSantis Department of Education, this is so exciting, now requires librarians to take an annual training program on which books and instructional materials, specifically ones with porn and CRT, will be allowed in Florida schools.
So I had a comment on this because I saw that story, and I do post a lot on social media. I'm there under my name, both on Twitter and Facebook, and I saw that story, and I read through it, and the funny thing about it is, it's all the law basically says is, don't show kids in public schools pornographic materials, and don't teach them to hate each other. That's controversial. Like that used to be something that you didn't say because you didn't have to. But now we actually live in a society where it's considered controversial to say to teachers, look, no porn, no sexual stuff for the kids. Like, don't do that. And then the second one is you can't tell the white kids they're evil and the black kids they're good, or that the Hispanic kids that they should hate the white kids because they're great-great-grandparents, whatever. It just seems like common sense. Yeah.
Common sense. Yeah. Anyway. All right, so to wrap up today's show, we're going to call this the Twitter take or something like that.
Okay. Or something like that.
Something like that. What I'm going to do is just go, now I'm not on social media. I don't like social media. I think it's a waste of time. I think it is destroying communication between people and just destroying humanity in general.
It is. What were you saying?
But I am on Twitter just because, just to get different news stories that I'm not getting on other news websites. I don't use Twitter I just read it for 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, and then I'm
Okay.
totally bored with it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to pull up my Twitter feed,
Oh,
and I'm just going to go through some things and just get your hot take.
all right.
All right,
Go.
David's hot Twitter take.
And I do a lot on Twitter. I organize my thoughts there. So if you want to follow me, I'm there too.
Okay, so here's one. I guess it's a guy. I don't know. It's called his Twitter handle. Is that what it is?
It is.
I'm sorry. I'm really
good for you, babe.
I'm really
it's at
novice
what?
at this.
It's at what?
End wokeness.
Okay.
End wokeness.
So it's not an actual person. So I just have something to say about that. I don't love that. Like, I think you should be who you are. I get it. I get that people want to be anonymous because they don't want to risk their jobs, and I get that. But I do think you should be who you
why
are.
Chaya Rychik, or however you say her name, lives at TikTok. She is a brave lady, and
Oh,
I can understand why
she is.
she didn't want her name out there.
So I'm at End Wokeness.
Yeah. Okay. So today,
His badge, by the way, it says "I support former things."
Yeah. So his tweet 3 hours ago, because he tweets a lot, or she, I don't know who's, 2013. Bill Gates invests plant-based eggs, poultry, and meat. 2021. Bill Gates becomes the largest private farmland owner in the U.S. 2021 to 2023. Mass chicken and egg shortages hit American farms.
Oh my goodness! I just bought 18 eggs for $10.
They're gold.
I had seen, I had seen stories about the cost of eggs. People had posted photos, and I thought I haven't really seen that. But then I realized I hadn't bought eggs in a while, and it was $10 for 18. So they're saying, what? Why are they saying it happened? Was there?
Well, he's
like, did they get gum disease? Did the chickens get gum disease?
They're just saying
That's a joke.
mass chicken.
Chickens don't have gums.
That's hilarious. I'm so
Thank you.
laughing so
He's the
hard.
largest. It says he's the largest private farmland owner in the U.S. China also owns and controls 192,000 acres of American farmland. So speaking of which, Governor DeSantis has just come out with an initiative this week saying they're going to take a hard look at any foreign purchases of American land, and not just on its face, but anywhere money might have come from, especially China, but any foreign influence. And I think we have to do that. I think that's a perfectly rational response to the situation we're in, and I think we should. I absolutely think we should. That's my hot take.
Yep. Okay, next one. Just a guy named Swig. I don't know who it is. He posts a video from some Spanish news. And I'm saying this one because this is really underreported. He says, "What the blank is going on in Peru?" And he attaches a video of military tanks rolling over roads and almost rolling over a bunch of people in the streets.
Oh my goodness, I see it.
So
Oh no, they are running over people.
they are running over people. There have been massive demonstrations going on in Peru. It's really been underreported because it's a really, conservatives are trying to get freedom in Peru.
They're trying to hit them.
Yeah, it's
Wait, this guy says this is Venezuela. It's an old video in Venezuela. So, no, that's a good idea.
but it's still
No, I'm glad you brought this
It
up.
is
I'm
still
glad you brought
important.
this up. So, one of the things about social media that you have to be super duper 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 careful about, this great illustration of it, is it's so easy to misframe something, especially because looking at this video, it's all written in Spanish, and neither one of us speaks Spanish, so we don't know what it is.
yeah.
Right? So super important. It's not that you can't watch it, but there are people commenting on this saying, yeah, it looks like the U.S.-Russian coalition in Peru. Another one says it's Caracas. So I guess the point is, it's clearly a human rights violation, and that's where we're going if we don't get under the Liberty Tree and talk about this stuff. This is precisely not wherever that's happening or wherever it happened. This is precisely why we have to talk about this. Because if you don't have, here's the thing: if you don't have government of, by, and for the people, you will have tyranny. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it's at or when it's at.
But
You will have tyranny.
It is true that there have been protests for months in Peru, and the government's been trying to put it down. And we're just not reporting on it. Just like we weren't getting the truth out of Venezuela.
Also, this is why we need gun rights.
Yes.
because that doesn't happen
Yeah.
if everybody's armed.
Yeah. Okay, now this story from because I follow lifenews.com. This story was
Like site news?
yeah, well, but their Twitter name,
Lifenews.com. Okay.
what is it? Twitter handle,
Yeah,
lifenews.com.
lifenews.com.
Okay, now they have posted the story before, but it is still a newer story. They just try to, every once in a while, they put the story back out. All right. Huge wave of liberal men are getting vasectomies to protest overturning Roe.
Yeah, so that's a win-win. Like, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but like if you really do believe that the planet is not long for this world, which it is this world, but yeah, I mean, you should do the responsible thing and let those of us who understand the dominion mandate and that we are supposed to, according to Genesis, fill the earth and subdue it, be fruitful and multiply. You should leave that up to us, but also leave our kids up to us.
Okay. 9 minutes ago, Charlie Kirk posted breaking. Are you going there?
I am. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Breaking. Kamala Harris omits Americans' right to life from the Declaration of Independence during abortion speech. Are you getting there?
I am.
Or should
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead. No, it's okay. I
can get there quicker.
Oh yeah, you can get there quicker.
So okay. Oh, it took me to the wrong story. I don't know what happened there. It just took me to the wrong story.
Yeah, it says Charlie Kirk, 9 minutes breaking. Kamala Harris omits Americans' right to life from the Declaration. The post-millennial posted this story. Yeah, so we had talked about her the other day. She's an interesting character because she's the vice president of the United States. So she has something going for her, right? I mean, Fetterman is a U.S. senator. Former Vice President Biden is the U.S. president. So that's not a huge bar. It's not a really high bar. But I think there's something about that. Like the non-player characters that are being put in, the placeholders that are being put in these positions, is because the biggest problem we have isn't Republicans or Democrats. It's the permanent state. It's the bureaucracy. And this is why wherever we get, and this is why I like about our governor, wherever we get an opportunity, we're pushing power back towards the people and away from institutions. Because there's a reason that trust has been eroded. It's not the fault of the American people or troll farms in Russia. It's because our institutions have failed us, because rather than being transparent and honest, they have promoted an agenda. So I think she fits with the times. But yeah, what was the thing she was talking about the other day? Electricity. She was talking about one of these word salads where she's going on and on about electricity, and it's again, I feel like we're being trolled. Like they know that what they're saying is dumb and wrong and bad, and they're just doing it just to basically say we can do whatever we want. You can't stop us.
That was really good, babe. Okay, one more, and pick this one.
I'm
It just happens to
exhausted.
go with what we were talking about, our first story about the Supreme Court leaker. Senator Dick Durbin, this was from RNC Research this morning. And I do follow some Republican things, not because I'm a big fan of Republicans anymore, but just because I
that's
just
been a
need the
long time.
information. Yeah. I've been independent, I've been libertarian, I've been Republican, I've just been mad and nothing for a while. I get really upset. Okay. This morning, Senator Dick Durbin was on CNN. He's the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Okay, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I just want to make that clear, what he is. And he says, when he was asked about the leaker not being found, says he has no plans to try and figure out the identity of the Supreme Court leaker.
Yeah, he also, on that same Twitter feed, he also said that his own past comments, they showed him, which kind of surprises me that the CNN even did this to him, but they showed him his own past comments, they played them for him, saying that it's a literal outrage for the president to store classified documents at home, and then they asked, is it also an outrage for Biden? And of course his answer was no, this is different. So here's the problem with that, as I see it. And I've heard Michael Knowles comment on this, and I think he's right. Of course, we should call out the hypocrisy, but we need more than that. Like, that's not going to work, just calling out the hypocrisy. This is why, as a conservative, I'm very happy with Governor DeSantis playing a strong hand and using the authority that he's been delegated. Because, look, this is the structure of our government. We don't have rulers. We're the rulers. Now, for practical purposes, and to protect the minority population, and by that I don't mean someone's skin color, I just mean any group that doesn't happen to have the majority. In order to defend that, to protect that, our system has been set up precisely to delegate for a short period of time a portion of our power and then to retain it. So the idea that we push back and we use the authority when we get it is exactly what we should be doing. And for far too long, conservatives have bought into the idea that being conservative means not doing what your power gives you the power to do. It does. The best ruler we ever had, the best leader we ever had, was President George Washington. And the way he used the incredible power they gave him was to say, no, I'm not going to centralize the power. I'm going to decentralize the power. I'm going to push it away from me. And that he did that, though, by exercising his power. And he set a good example. And I'm not completely done with President Trump, but I have to say Governor DeSantis is doing a fantastic job. We'll have a discussion another day about elections, because I actually don't want Governor DeSantis to run, even though I know he's going to. And he has no choice.
Florida.
Yeah, but also until Arizona and Pennsylvania and other states get their elections fixed, or Republicans learn to play by whatever rules there are, we're not winning another election. So
Okay, I said one last thing. This is the last one.
Wait, you got another one?
This one is so good.
I'm gonna need a nap.
This
I'm getting
one's so
old. I'm
good.
too old for this.
Okay, this
Go
is
ahead.
one of those bada bing. Okay. There's some guy named Matt Couch.
I like him.
You know him?
I've seen him. I think I follow him.
I don't know, Matt Couch. Yesterday, he tweeted out, "I will always stand behind Alec Baldwin."
Oh no, I don't know. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, with that, we got to go. Thank you for watching. Please share and like if you like this. Any comments? We want to hear what you have to say. We'd love additional ideas for the show. We're just getting started. We've got lots of things in the hopper, and we're going to be evolving as we go. And so your input right now is super, super valuable to us, because it'll help us. And we look forward to seeing you next week under the Liberty Tree. I just need to figure out where the button is.